If you're frustrated by the fact that Joe Biden is not being held accountable and not being questioned enough by the mainstream media or by maybe some members of our country, some Americans, and you see the destruction that he is doing upon our country on the daily at a fast pace, I might add, then this article might be of interest to you. Mind you, this article is a few months, well, a month or so old, September 1st, 2022, right before it's just a short article. It's not that long, but I think it's important. Right before his speech, the creepy, divisive speech where he had the military standing behind him and the red, like blood red lights on the background, just weird. And he was just up there saying how horrible MAGA Republicans are and they're a threat to democracy. Well, this article is about Joe Biden as the real threat to democracy. And let's get into it and see what they have to say. Okay, it says President Joe Biden is scheduled to give a speech tonight in front of Independence Hall in Philadelphia, where he will call his political opponents a threat to democracy and urge everyone to vote for Democrats instead. Right, okay. If Biden wants to see a real threat to democracy, he need only look in the mirror. That's because it is the unlawful executive actions by recent presidents, including his own student loan amnesty announced last week, that represent the real threat to the constitutional order and the rule of law. Article 1 of the Constitution, which was debated and signed in the building from which Biden will speak tonight, vests all legislative powers of the federal government in Congress. Then that did say all legislative powers of the federal government in Congress, not in the executive branch. Now, side note here, this is what pisses me off about these Democrats. Nancy Pelosi said, oh no, Biden can never repeal or can never forgive the student loans, right? He can delay them. He can kind of put them on hold, but he can never forgive them. She said that's up to Congress. Well, Biden and his team of sketchy lawyers found a loophole, and I forget where it was at. It was, you know how they found the loophole for how they can put the mandates through, or supposedly put mandates through, by getting into the OSHA thing, which the Supreme Court, fortunately and luckily, shot down and said, no, you're unconstitutional. They found something like that else to do with these student loans. It was something to do with an emergency act, the thing that came out of something after 9/11. It was some bizarre bullshit, right? They're really, really reaching. And the reason they're reaching is because they have no legal basis to do it normally. So they've got all these lawyers that we're probably paying for in some back room trying to figure out how to damage our country more. It's bullshit. Let's get back on track here. Side note over. So yeah, he cannot say that. He can't come out and say, I'm going to forgive your student loan, because he doesn't have the power, as this article clearly points out. If a president of either party wants to use the power of the federal government to wipe away the debt of millions of borrowers, just to pick an issue at random, that president must be able to point to a specific act of Congress that gave him or her the power. Moreover, Article 4 specifically gives Congress the power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations respecting government property, such as student debt. Biden's defenders disingenuously claimed that the Higher Education Relief Opportunities for Student Act of 2003, so there's that thing I was telling you about, gives him the power to cancel permanently the student debt of all borrowers affected by a declared national emergency. But that legislation was passed to provide relief to borrowers who missed work after being called to military service during a national emergency. See how they're reaching? Sneaky snakes in the grass trying to do some funky shit. That's what they are. And that's why I don't trust any of those Democrats or their team of lawyers that they got working round the clock to find all these little minute little loopholes to come at us through. This is very similar to former President Donald Trump's attempt to build a wall on the southern border by redirecting funds that Congress had allocated to other programs after he declared a national emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border. So see, he's doing the same thing. Whatever powers Congress has delegated to the president in cases of national emergency, and Congress has delegated far too much power to the presidency during emergencies. Yeah, they have. That's when we get screwed the most. keep your spidey sense about you. We got screwed big time after 9/11, that horrible tragedy that we lost 3,000 Americans. And then as our parting gift, we get the Department of Homeland Security. That's freaking awesome. Love it. Both Trump's wall and Biden's loan amnesty vastly overstepped their legitimate executive powers. Trump's wall was blocked by a federal court. I didn't know that. And if a plaintiff with standing can be identified for Biden's loan amnesty, that action will likely be blocked as well. So that's what I've heard too. If they find someone that actually is willing to stand up and say, hey, I can test this, then there could be some stuff. But it might have already fallen through the crack or fallen off the wagon. I don't know. The most egregious recent abuse of executive power, however, was former President Barack Obama. Obama's unilateral rewriting of the nation's immigration laws in the middle of his presidential election. On a case-by-case basis, presidents have chosen to defer action against certain migrants otherwise slated for deportation. What had never been done before Obama was to identify an entire class of migrants for special deferred status, which on top of everything else included both loan protections and work permits, both legal protections and work permits. I don't know what that means. Obama's 2012 deferred action for childhood arrivals was an unprecedented expansion of presidential power that has twice served as a beacon for migrants around, that has since served as a beacon. Sorry, this font's really faint and thin. I don't even know if you'll be able to see this on YouTube. But he said, presidential power that has since served as a beacon for migrants around the world, inviting them to risk their children's lives by sending them to the United States. See, that's what happens. We think it's all fun and games until people get killed. What happened a few months ago? 50 illegal immigrants were killed in the back of a truck. It's no joke, right? Thanks to Obama's abuse of power, migrants know that their children would not only be allowed into the country, but will eventually be allowed to stay permanently by some other president's executive amnesty. That's crazy. Obama's illegal DACA program caused an incalculable loss of faith in the rule of law. There are few policies more important to national sovereignty than its control over who is allowed to enter the country. Amen, and God bless that statement. Let's stop here and give a little shout out to that. You let in any Tom, Dick, and Harry and Susie, May, and Karen, and you don't know their values and you don't know what they think and what they believe in, all the little signs in the yard, like we're welcoming to everyone, that's ignorant and silly. Are you welcoming to terrorists? If they just come in and say, hey, what's up? Are you welcoming to people that don't love your values and love this country? That's what you're saying with those silly little signs. You're playing into the propaganda. The what do they call it? The thing of the month, the thing of the year, right? Stop it. Think it through. That sentence really struck me. Man, that's so good. Obama, let's see. That had full authority. Let's see. Where was that sentence up here? Thanks to Obama's abuse of power, migrants know they can come into the country. Obama's illegal act. There are a few policies more important to national sovereignty than its control over who is allowed. That's so awesome. Obama claimed against laws written by Congress that he had full authority to decline to enforce the law for entire classes of people. That Trump tried something similar with his border wall should surprise nobody. Until presidents like Biden, Trump, and Obama are forced to drive within the lines, the presidency itself will continue to be the biggest threat to democracy in America. That's it, my friends. I mean, yeah. And what else do you say to this? I mean, we're definitely in a pickle. The Constitution, many people think the Constitution is not being supported as it is, right? They're thinking that the military is not supporting the Constitution, that president isn't supporting it, isn't defending it. Congress isn't defending it. American citizens aren't defending it. I follow a military guy on Telegram, and his basically his statement is this: I took an oath to defend and uphold the Constitution. I see some bullshit going down. I'm going to defend and uphold the Constitution in whatever way, shape, or form I can. So he's speaking out. He's sharing knowledge and information. Whatever you can do, do it. Because in my mind, it's an all hands on deck, code red kind of a thing. I mean, I'm not a person to make wave or, offend people or talk about politics. I'd never talk about politics. I just look at people and ask them about themselves and learn from them and experience them and hang out with them and enjoy them and then get on with my life. But that we're in trouble in our nation. And I do feel it's an all hands on deck, code red. Everyone do the research. Everyone focus up. Game on. We got midterms coming up here in a month. Well, less than a month now. I mean, yeah, that's it. You know what to do. Let your soul guide you, and any instinct or intuition you have to do whatever you can to save this country, like I'm doing this, turning my whole YouTube channel into talking about these important topics that are affecting our country. I mean, it all plays into enhancing the human experience, helping us have a better life, right? Sharing knowledge and information. But I definitely didn't talk about politics a couple of years ago, but it is game on now. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Hit the subscribe button if you want to have more. Turn on the bell if you want that jazz. And until next time, I wish you all the best health, wealth, and success. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.